Hello, and thank you for joining us for another episode of the Unspecial podcast. We are a space for parents to come be heard, supported, equipped, and inspired. We're not here to tell you what to do with your child or present the latest therapies and behavior modifications. We are simply here for you. Our hope, our goal is for all parents to be in community with one another and in community with us at Unspecial. So thank you for joining us. All right, this is the Unspecial podcast. We have Maddie Garcia Villalon with us today, coming live from Big Bear, California, and super excited to have this conversation. I'm already impressed because before coming on this podcast right now, she put to nap 3 kids under 4.
Yeah, well, 3 under 3. Well, my 3 now, so yeah.
3 under 3. I'm good to just get 1 down for a nap, so
yeah.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, so for all the listeners, I'm Zack Ponder, the host, founded Unspecial. Unspecial is a space for parents to come talk about their journeys. And I taught special ed for 7 years, 2 as an instructional aide, 5 as a mod severe teacher in a special day class. And I kind of specialize in autism and violence. And I don't know why, but I just enjoy those classes. And today we have Maddie here. Maddie, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you. Happy to be here.
And Maddie's sister was with us on episode 8, and they're twins, and they look the same. So this is going to be fun.
Yeah.
Maddie, why don't you tell us about yourself?
Okay. I think pretty much sums it up right now. I'm a wife and a sister. I grew up in Big Bear. I'm currently in my garage, hoping my kids don't hear me. So we'll see how we can do this. But Lord willing, we'll be here for a while. And yeah, I can't tell you I ever imagined being in this position now, growing up. And my daughter, she does have special needs, and I was able to listen to some of the podcasts before going on just previously, and a pattern that kind of came up was just the Lord's sovereignty and his provision in all of our lives, but I think very special in unspecial kids, and just we're, as parents, really diving into a deep end of so many unknowns. I think that a little bit more about myself. I've always been very shy and not outspoken, whereas my twin sister is totally the opposite. But the Lord put me in a place where I have to speak up for my daughter. That's been a blessing. But from day one, fortunately, the labor was awesome. I was able to have her at home in my living room, which was the goal. And as well as my boys. Beautiful little baby, just very little, and came out with some breathing problems. So we kind of recognized from the start she was a little bit weaker, and she had these wart-looking just pattern on her arms and her legs. And so we ended up having to go to the NICU for the first 72 hours of her life. A little more background: I hate hospitals. I hate them. I always have, and everybody who knows me knows I hate them because I let them know I do. So to have this beautiful birth, to have my husband right there, my midwife was amazing, and having to go to the hospital almost immediately out of precaution those 72 hours got to be hard hours, but the way our family came together to be so supportive over this little baby. And the nurse, while we were there, the nighttime nurse said, "I've never seen a baby so loved where someone was always with her." And I think I wasn't there for, it was like 4 or 5 hours because I was told I had to sleep but I didn't want to. I wanted to be with her the whole time, right? Very protective of that. So it was hard, but from the get-go, it's been very special. And it's interesting when they're so young, and it's almost like the Lord uses them to glorify himself. Not almost, I know it is true. The Lord uses them to bring glory to himself, as we have to lay down our own lives to put this child needs before ours. I know we're sanctified by bearing children, and in the process, that just gives you this sense of humility of I I need help all the time. But it's not just with my daughter. I mean, it's with my two boys. And it's just the way that, like, Jesus came down, and humbled himself and then died for us on the cross. I just think, one, it's really important. Whoever is listening knows what God we're talking about when we bring up his name, and just the grace and the mercy he has for us little wandering sheep, thinking we can do it all by ourselves and we know the right way to go. But I think also he puts in this intuition towards moms, just be so connected to your daughters, that I think one of the battles right now that we're fighting is, well, in my heart, is, do I keep her in school or do I keep her at home? Because for me, I know she needs therapy. I know needs help, and over and over you hear, do it as soon as possible. Early intervention, early intervention. But what type of intervention is the best for her? And our journey went from using IRC, which is through California, up till she's 3. Didn't have great experience with that. Some people do. We didn't. And then moving her into the school system, we put her in at 3 years old. And just from the get-go, my mom heart was like, I can't do I can't do, but everybody was like, no, do it, try it, get the IEP done, go to the meeting, meet the teachers, meet who's going to be her one-on-one. And we were just blessed with a wonderful
Wow.
teacher, a wonderful one-on-one. But every day I fought the battle of, like, don't put her in school, don't put her in school. So we finally decided, after we put her in August. So in December, I'm like, okay, let's just try on the day she has therapy. So now she's going 2 to 3 days a week. So that's kind of, we're playing around with that idea. She's in a physical therapy through another place in Big Bear. She's gonna get OT, and then she has physical therapy off the mountain. And so she has something every day. And for myself, I like to bring my kids, let's go play at the library and do story time with a bunch of other little kids, or let's go to the park with kids, let's invite moms over, let's hang out. And I know something, well, what comes back into mind is, I know you kept bringing up the verse, or not the verse, the saying that the Lord doesn't call the equipped, but equips the called. And I'm just thinking, like, I am so bad at making friends, but here I'm almost forced to, because I go crazy if I stay home by myself. So I'm like, I need to make connection. And so I have, and it's been wonderful, even just from a friend who's nannying a kid that's the same age as mine. And then we'll go to the park together. And, but just like little steps like that, and really stepping out to where I think you have to use a lot of faith in these, just any situation. I think with kids, it's important, and you got to lean on the Lord. Like, I know my sister called me, she said, like, superwoman or something. And I'm
Yeah.
thinking about that. I'm like, there's really nothing super about me. I'm so in love with the Lord. Like, he's the one that's super. Like, he's the one that's using, like, moving through me, like, giving me that courage. He's the one that, I mean, the Lord knows this is rare. I get all 3 kids down, and so it's without much fight either, which was nice. And so
Yeah.
but it's like moments like that, like when he does give me a time to rest or time to talk about him or a time to just be with another adult, like I know that's from him. And just emphasizing that he's totally in control, and it really, not till I get older, things in my life become even more out of control, out of what I can control, he shows his control. So it's almost this interesting, like what I'm thinking about is my daughter, I think she had her first seizure um a couple days ago, and I'm home by myself. Just to let people know, my husband's a truck driver, so he's gone 5 to 7 days a week and then home for maybe a night, sometimes only a couple of hours. And so I do get a lot of help from my family, and I've learned I have to reach out to people who aren't my family or just my neighbors. So when my daughter had the seizure, I fortunately had met a mom that's very well versed with seizures. So I was able to call her and see, like, will the emergency do anything? Because with the three, we've made our trips to the emergency room already. My son has febrile seizures, which means if he gets a high temperature or is sick, he had a seizure, and it was pretty obvious, and like face went purple and everything. So we did go to the emergency room with him, and he had another one. So we know it was going to be something we were going to deal with. But I've never seen it in my daughter. Fortunately, I was able to hold her till she recovered, and but I was able to call this mom, and she was like, "Well," gave me a couple of tips, like if it goes over 5 minutes or if it's multiple times, then you need to go see somebody. But if it's something that's going to recur a lot, you don't have to go every time. To go to the emergency room, they can't do anything. You have to, we're getting another brain scan, we're getting another EEG, we had an MRI and a sleep test, and parents that have special needs, they know we're in the doctor's office all the time. We're going to doctor's visits, we're checking up, we're monitoring medication if they have medication. Fortunately, we don't have any yet, but if that was a seizure, that might be our journey as well. And just with Emma, uh, she has stereotypies, which looks like a seizure when she wakes up. Her feet are curled in, so we have a special foot doctor. We have an eye doctor because her eyes go cross-eyed. But it's like you have so many specialists in your life, and you're always seeing them. That's just kind of routine right now. Like I said, I hate the doctor, so it's like I'm there all the time. We've been very, very fortunate with the people the Lord has put in our lives in this journey, and has built more trust in me towards doctors, but also has encouraged me to listen to my own intuition. So we're not just going into it blindly, but asking around, asking. Yeah, so it's um so that's pretty much me on the what I do right now.
Yeah.
On the other side, I love baking sourdough. I'm an artist. I love stretching and yoga, and I love hiking. It's like that's me,
Uh-huh.
when I'm not mom. And I this pops in my head. I'm learning to love Mexican food because my husband is a big Mexican food lover. It's so that's something we connect with too. So yeah, that's kind of me. That's what I do right now.
Wow. Well, I think you've already proven why your sister called you Superwoman. I mean, it's just your perspective on your journey and a prime example of life happening for you and not to you, and all the lessons you've taken out of these past 4 years is inspiring. I mean, I think of some hardships I've gone through and am going through, and like just hearing your journey and your day to day is like, wow, you're rocking it. So that's crazy. Take me back to the NICU days. I know a lot of our listeners for sure aren't a stranger to the NICU. My fourth kid was a NICU baby, and that whole scene is just so emotional and intense because you really there's a lot of like wait time. You don't know what's going on. Everything is so fragile. And like you, my wife and I, we don't like doctors. We don't like hospitals. Our third kid never had an ultrasound, was born in our log house in the forest of Idaho. And so it's just that whole scene, like what, and it was your firstborn. What was going through your head? And was your husband with you? What was all that?
Yeah, so, well, I think when you said my husband, that kind of brought my focus in. What was pretty amazing about that, he was trucking, right? And he's never gone to a stop. He does long haul. So right now he's coming back from New Jersey, right? So when he first started, they first sent him to Florida, and then he was all over the place. But on that night in particularly, when I was having my daughter, this is the only time they've done it, and we don't know why, but he came back to California before having to go out. So when I was in labor, I called him and I'm like, babe, like it's happening. He's like, oh, I'm in California. Like, I'll just stop and go. And so it, I that was just like one of the little pieces. I'm like, you can't plan that, right? And so he did end up, he came, he was in the living room and with my midwife and her assistant, and it was, I have never been broken down physically and emotionally like that ever. And just to the point of like, okay, Lord, like, if this is it, take me now, because this is so hard. So, but yeah. And so, but I had her, and like, I didn't know how to react. So I think my body was just kind of numb to everything going on. When you, after labor, you have these, endorphins and you have this adrenaline that just keeps you going. Mine was up there, and then baby came out and they're like, yeah, like I think we need to go to the NICU, and I'm like, no, 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 like she's fine. And they're like, no, like we gotta go like now because
So you knew like nothing during pregnancy?
no, I didn't. We did one ultrasound.
Okay.
Sorry, excuse me. We did two ultrasounds just to make sure there was a baby because I was like what,
Yeah.
to just to make sure everything was okay. But I know with that pregnancy in particular, my emotions, I've dealt with depression for like a long, long time, and it's really triggered me when I was pregnant, and just the whole life flip because I was very, very selfish, very independent, very, I'm just going to do what I want when I want. I'm going to go where I want. I'm going to go camping in the middle of the week. I'm going to quit my job. I'm going to go to this party, blah, 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 go all over the place. And that's happened to be where I found my husband, right? And then we got pregnant, and like our lifestyle was not stable. Like he was a carpenter, so he had somewhat of a job. I had no job. I didn't go to school. I didn't graduate high school or anything. I'm sorry. I graduated high school. I bebopped my way through college. Never really finished college, but I have like 4 years of college experience. Just never really finished it, if that makes sense.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, what am I going to do with my life? I don't know. And so I have this baby, and it doesn't go as like that. Everything goes as planned until she comes, and I'm like, this is out of my control. Like, until I'm like, okay, I don't want her to go to the NICU. We go, and I think I needed to kind of tell him about myself before that because it was a lot of surrender that I didn't want to surrender to, because you have to at some point choose, am I going to trust these doctors or am I going to fight it the whole way? And I chose to fight it the whole way, which didn't make it easier for me, didn't make it easier for other people. But my husband and I knew it wasn't what they thought it was from the beginning. And my midwife never seen it before, never see the word pieces all over, because usually if it's a virus, it doesn't happen for another 2 weeks outside once the baby's born, but they wanted to be sure, so they're pumping her with antibiotics, which I'm really against.
Mm-hmm.
They're getting spinal fluid tests, which they missed the first time, so they had to go back in and do it again. Then they're pricking her, and they're just trying to draw blood and figure all these things out when it seems like on the doctor's side, they're very, let's go by the book. Let's figure out what we need to do. What's the next step? Let's take all these precautionary moves just in case, when I'm sitting over there just torn to, like, my husband and I were like, we even looked up, is it illegal to just grab your baby and go once you're in the It was long ago. And so, but they're like, no, like someone will actually like probably send CPS on you. Like, that's not a good idea. Don't do that. So we ended up just, I mean, what else can you do? Like when I checked in, it's almost like they're there. Like she's the hospitals now. And I think that is the hardest, for me, the hardest reality to sit in, because it's like you need help, but you also feel so helpless when someone else is taking care of your baby like that. Fortunately, I had a lot of time to be able to just sit with her, but I was also trying to breastfeed, and so I'm in this room, pumping, and milk's not coming in. It finally does, and as a mom, two moms, you understand breastfeeding. If you're stressed, you don't produce, and so I'm like trying to stay calm, there's a point where I'm just like, okay, I'm here. I know what I need to do. I need to feed my baby. Like, we got to get this done. And so I don't want to give her formula if that's not, if we have a choice other than that right now. I know some families, they don't. Then I want to do it this way. So I was there when I wasn't with her. I was pumping, and then I was feeding, and then you have to feed her a certain amount before they can let her go. And it's not at all what I envisioned, not at all. I mean, I didn't even know. I've never really held an infant before. I'm the youngest of my family, well, besides my twin. But I wasn't really around babies. And then my husband has never been around baby, like ever. Was it? Yeah. So
We're just bad at it. I
it's
mean, let's be
well,
honest.
wow, but he's an amazing dad. So it grows on you. But um so yeah, going back to those, like, I think it was like 4, 5, or 6 hours where my parents said I had to sleep. I remember trying to get out the room. Fortunately, my grandparents' house was right next to the hospital, so we were staying there with my whole family. And I was like, I have to be to the hospital. I'm gonna go. And my husband had to tackle me back in bed and said, "You will sleep." And I'm like just sobbing. I'm just sobbing, and he just holds me down, and I finally fall asleep because I'm also just exhausted. But meanwhile, I'm in an adult diaper this whole time because I just went through labor, right? Trying to romp around the hospital, and fortunately, there was like, I didn't have to get stitches or anything. To anybody who knows what that means, like, so I was in an adult diaper, and I was trying to heal while I was running around the hospital. So it was like that. That was the start of our adventure with our little Emma. So it's just kind of a nonstop, for real.
I mean, my heart's already racing just hearing all that. You mentioned you got to a place of surrender. How did you get to that place?
I think you fight so hard until there's nothing else you can do, and like you've tried everything, and then recognize the only thing that's going to work is to be still and know that he's God. And I still fight that, even having the kids, after a lot of the habits I had before kids kind of would slowly sneak into my life, saying like, oh, this calmed you down, this helped you out, this gave you peace, like, try this, but ultimately either it drew energy out of me and I didn't want to accept it, or it just kept my mind so focused on something other than the kids that also drew energy out. And even just down to like owning a business, like, but I mean, back at the NICU, it was kind of the same thing of like this desire to just control everything, when my emotions were out of control. So it's like I almost felt the more I was trying to control everything around me, I never sat down and accepted that my emotions were out of control and like surrendered to the fact like I need God first. Like I need his peace, I need his provision in my own life was before I can start thinking clearly of what road to take, what step to take, if that makes sense. But like I'm just thinking of when I was pumping, um I almost get in this fight, which is also not me at all. If you know me, I'm one to run from something that's challenging, hence the never really finishing college thing. And but like in this situation, it's like I knew I had to fight for something. Like that was my daughter, as simple as making sure she was eating breast milk as opposed to formula as much as I could. But like even that, when you get into this fight and like go 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 mindset, there's a point where I got exhausted, and you have to be like, okay, like I don't have the energy. Like where I'm weak, the Lord makes me strong, and I was weak, and so then that's when you see the Lord just like, okay, let me just step in here, like let me just give you someone, or like just give you an hour to yourself, and like, and yeah, I don't, I'm kind of all over the place because like thoughts are coming in. I'm like, oh, I should share this. I should share that. But I think the surrender, you're even surrendering to how the Lord created you, because it's like when I'm met with something really difficult or go through something really difficult, naturally, like we have to let ourselves go through a grieving process. I think stuffing those emotions away and not dealing with them and not letting them kind of roll through your body causes issues later on. Or you try to bandage it up with taking this substance or one more type of tea, or getting so involved that you never have time to just think of how you're feeling, right? And so like with this last diagnosis with my daughter, I know my sister said she is cerebral palsy. Well, we just had a diagnosis she might have Rett syndrome, which is definitely worse. Well, worse comes to mind in the sense of not at all what we expected. Like, we don't know. It's almost, if she has that, which we won't know till we get another blood test, she may never talk, she may never walk, and her ability to use her hands might go completely. We don't know how much cognitively she's going to be there. At first, we started out as, okay, this is just a developmental delay. She has the possibility of connecting with her or playing with the other kids, and telling me what she wants. But if it's Brett, it sounds like you kind of plateau, and then that's it. And yeah. And I mean, you see the pictures and stuff, and there's kids in wheelchairs almost indefinitely. But we still don't know a lot about it. One good thing about having a diagnosis is like, well, now I kind of know where to set an expectation. If I'm going to set an expectation, it's almost best not to have an expectation and just like meet the kid where she's at and move forward. Continuing with therapy and stuff just to make life easier for her, and nobody wants to sit in a chair all day long, so we'll do stretching, we'll do tummy time. And I am not answering your question. I can't even remember what it was.
No, you went into what I was gonna ask next. Like, what exactly is Emma's? What does she have going on? She's got
Yeah,
the cerebral palsy.
well, yeah, our neurologist said it was cerebral palsy because she's shaky, but our genetics doctor, who we just met a couple weeks ago, said it was most likely Rett syndrome because she does this with her hands nonstop. It almost keeps her up at night because she's doing it so much. So I have to put a blanket between her hands so they're not all locked in the same place and they're in her mouth. And the only time she'll really reach out is if there's a toy that lights up in front of her. Like, she likes a little light up piano, a book, or food. She loves like shoveling food in her mouth.
Mm-hmm.
But it's so shaky, sometimes it'll miss and it's just messy. I just have to accept there's going to be a mess every meal. And so, but so that's the newest diagnoses, and I think parents who are going through it, and we're in such young early stages. I mean, she's only 3, and so I was thinking, like, what, like, like, did I learn, like, yeah, I'm learning things, but it's like I'm going day by day, and I just feel like all I need to do is show up. Like, I need to show up for her. I need to show up to take her to physical therapy or ask for help. Like, my mom has been really involved to take her to physical therapy, which has been amazing. And I need to show up to the doctor's appointments. I need to um, show up and put the braces on her feet, make sure she's fed and drinks, because she can't tell me if she needs that. I'm just kind of assuming. I mean, I'm just, do 3 meals a day, some snacks, and drink in between. And, like, give her naps. She loves her naps. So she'll sleep. If it's 10:30, she's asleep. If it's, or 12:30, she gets 2:30, 4:30, and 7:30, she's out. Like, almost on the dot. So
That's nice.
yeah. So she loves her sleep, and she goes in, like, little increments. So, like, at night, though, like, sometimes she'll be up at 12, and then I don't really know if she goes back to sleep for a while, because I'll find her when I go to change my youngest or feed him, and she's kind of awake and just looking around. So I'll give her a bottle and, like, roll her over, and she'll fall back to sleep. But then at 4 in the morning, 95% of the time she wakes up at 4 and then just is up. So by the time like, school would roll around, she was into her first nap. So that was kind of a struggle at the beginning of trying to get her to stay awake, but having her, like, okay, I want to keep her home. She's able to take those naps, but having a routine. At first I was like, just let the child tell me what they want. Like, it doesn't work. Like, you gotta have, because by the time they're hungry, it's too late. By the time they're tired, it's too late. It's like, you feed them before they're hungry, you put them to bed before they're tired, and you have them clothed and clean all the time. Like, that's just, except my son. Sometimes he goes around with no pants on, but he's 2. He's 2.
Yeah, whatever. That's minor.
Yeah, he's clean. He's a clean diaper, and that's what matters.
Yeah, a phrase that comes to mind that I hear often in some circles I'm in and personal development life coaching group I'm in is what you resist persists. And it seems like you're not resisting the just your journey and the reality of your life, which is incredible. How do you get to that point other than you got to a point of surrender? But, like, with all the new news coming in, diagnoses, like, how do you have such a good mindset?
That's the Lord again. I after his diagnoses, I used to run to other substances to try to, like, calm my mind down. This time I chose, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go and I'm going to meditate. I'm going to do stretching and, like, yoga, and listen to worship music, and just pour out my heart to the Lord and be like, I am angry. Like, I just want to believe that it's not happening, or, like, but it's almost because I let myself go through the grieving process, and I learned about the grieving process a while ago, just, like, to acceptance. Then there's just, I don't, it's still hard. It's still hard. I still cry. I mean, I'm a big crier. I break down. I get angry. I being pregnant, when I was very sensitive, I used to throw things, which that's not happening anymore. But it's real. Like, people go through these things. They go through rage, like, how, like, just super sensitive and, like, triggered. And but it took me back to the 12-step process you hear with Anon. Just, there comes to one of the steps is you have to recognize, I don't have any control over this emotion or this addiction, and I have to surrender it to the Lord. Like, tell him, recognize, I don't have control over this. I need your help to control. Like, you know me better than I do. So like, there's this place of just, I don't know. It's amazing the difference between even just last month till now. The Lord reminding me, like, the Lord who gives can also take away. And so like some days my energy won't be there. And I'm like, how did I have so much energy the other day to get all these things done? And then I'm reminded, like, oh, maybe the Lord gave that to me and he's taking it away to remind me who actually gave that to me. Like, it's not in my own power. It's by his grace that I'm able to move forward, able to do anything really positive or good. It's from the Lord. But there's also a point of just like letting go, because I love to be right. And I'm not always right. And so that's really hard to accept. And I could tell someone how to do something. If the goal, like, this doesn't really happen, but like if the goal is to get my son's shoes on, that's the goal. So we need to focus on the goal, but the process of getting there, my way of doing it is different than his way of doing it. But if we have shoes on, by the time we get out the house, we're good, as opposed to being so focused on how do we get there, right? And so that almost brings back to my daughter's education. My husband was really big in like, let's get her education. She needs to be in school. And I'm like, education? Like, let's get her to hold a spoon. Like,
Yeah.
she doesn't need to know colors right now. Like, she's gonna hear it. She's gonna be around kids. She's gonna be around her siblings. I'm gonna take her out. Like, I need to be out around adults and kids and stuff. So it's not just for me, but and other kids need to see her and be like, wow, like, not everybody can run around like me. Not everybody can do this. And I remember bringing her to nursery one time so I could go to a Bible study. One of the moms saw how I love putting my daughter's hair up in pigtails and like little bows, and so cute, you know. And the mom said, she's like, wow, I wish my daughter stayed still long enough to be able to do that. In my head, I'm like, yeah, I wish my daughter could walk. I don't know what to
Yeah.
tell them. But no, it makes it sound like I want more out of Emma than what she's able to give right now, which is also not very healthy, I guess, as a mom. I don't expect Emma to be anywhere than where she is right now, and I think with different systems or therapies come in. I remember this one guy, he was a teacher, would come in, hold a clipboard, and be like, "Did she do this today? Did she do this today? Okay, she gets 25%." I'm like, she's 18 months and like already getting graded. Like, I don't understand.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, she can't build blocks, but she can sit up by herself. Like, that's cool. And so it's like, she's just like building these little things, and like strength. We're working on core strength and just little stuff like that. And just the way to see how her brother interacts with her is wonderful. My child, he's 2, but will try to spoon feed her, will give her and hold the bottle for her. If I go anywhere, he's like, Emma, Emma, like, where's Emma? Or if like the car seat's open and she's not in there, he's like, Emma. Or I'm really tired in the morning and I give him part of a fig Newton and he points to the other half and he's like, Emma, Emma. I'm like, okay, I'll give Emma a snack too. Like, I'll give your daughter, or my daughter, a snack too. Like, maybe she's hungry. You're right. Or vitamins, or just that. Or he'll come and lay next to her and play with her on the floor. And I didn't teach. It's something we do with Emma, but it's something he caught on. It's like, this is what we do in our home. We care for each other. We look out for each other. And I think that in itself is so much more important than her learning how to hold a crayon. Though I love art and that's something I want to teach her. I want to teach my kids, but it's like, it's very, I don't see a lot of homeschooled special needs kids. Like, it just doesn't seem like that's a thing. And that's where my heart's at. And so I don't know what that's going to look like. I've heard good things about ABAs. I've heard bad things about ABAs. I know my sister was one. I would hire her on the dot if she was still doing that and lived.
Yes, she's the pro.
Yeah, but that's not the case, right? And so I don't know, like that, it almost, the same sense of wow, I want a home birth is almost the same sense of wow, I want to homeschool my children. And to put her in school, in a public school, and not my other kids, just because she's has special needs, almost makes my kids think so she's more special. Like, yes, I don't know how to explain it exactly. I don't have any of the answers. So it's like I'm really going into this deep end, but having her homeschooled and just being with us isn't a a piece of denial, I think, that I think some people would look in and be like, "Oh, you don't think she needs help?" I'm like, "No, she needs help. I need help. I don't know if that's the right way to do it right now." But I'm also speaking to a teacher, and I'm sure like my parents are teachers, and like my sister and my brother and my grandpa, and so it's a very different mindset. But for me, I know it's not going to be a secluded homeschool. It's going to be very involved homeschool with like other people who are homeschooling. But there's also a side of like when we did have her in the public school, it's not school. It's more like at this age, very hands-on daycare. And I'm like, well, I could care for her at home, but there's also, okay, but she needs more attention than it's just different. So as you can see, I'm definitely playing with that in my mind right now of like what's best for her. And at the moment, because when she was in school, my third son was born. He was born in June. She went to school in August. And that gave me more time to focus on my 2-year-old and well, he wasn't 2 yet, and my newborn, because I knew she was being taken care of. So I don't know. And like, we're extremely blessed with the people up here who, like, I know a lot of your talk is about the IEP meetings, and I honestly, like, when it came to our turn to speak, they did give us a time, like, okay, what's on your mind? What goals do you see? What do you want to see out of this program? Like, and a lot of times I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what to expect. I don't know what the next step is. I'm trusting that you guys know. And like that's why I'm here. So
Right. But I think, I mean, I would encourage you with, like, you are the expert in your child. Like, even though you're going to have a lot of voices telling you what therapies, what behavior modifications, whatever it is, that they would recommend, like a foundational core value of us here at Unspecial is the parent is the expert,
mhm,
and you know what's best for your child. And it's like all the educators and teachers, and we have suggestions, but we have no idea what you go through on a day-to-day basis.
mhm,
And so I think hearing your perspective and your mindset, like, you're going to do what's best for your child, and all the services and everything available to her is just, it's there for you to pick, really.
yeah.
And it's a decision you'll make with your husband, which I'm curious on that front. Being married, having 3 kids under 4, you said 4, 3.
For a moment they were all under 3. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And like, how do you navigate that, being married, all the emotions, how you process things versus how he processes things, staying on the same page, communicating? I mean,
Well,
and he's on the road most of the time.
yeah, and we're only meeting up our 4th anniversary here. So we're newly married. And we only knew each other for 3 months before we got married. So it's like we're still learning about each other. And that has hold many challenges. But like I don't know, like I just love him so deeply, and like I know the Lord doesn't mess up, and I really believe when we come before the Lord and say and get married in his name, like he's going to bless that. And I'm reminded of like the triangle set of like the closer you draw to the Lord, the closer you draw together. And I think the Lord's almost, though it's been really difficult, has blessed us with time apart, because when we were together all the time, it came to a point of like nitpicking at each other and like focusing on each other's problems as opposed to fixing ourselves. And I was really, really good at telling him all the things he was doing wrong, but I never took responsibility for what I was doing wrong and how I would speak to him, or laying down, I don't have to be right all the time. No, I'm not right. But just laying that down and learning how to compromise, that's still a big thing. Yeah. So, just trusting each other, choosing to trust each other. But it's ultimately, I have to choose to trust the Lord, that he's the person in my life right now, my kid's parent, my kid's father, my husband. I have to trust that's not a mistake. And then I'm able to trust him, that God loves my husband more than I could love him. And God sees him and sees his heart and everything going on, and knows how to convict him in the right way. And that's not always my responsibility. It's not my responsibility, to encourage him. That's something different. And to bring out the best in him and support him, that's different. But I think for a long time, I would hold on to my husband's my protector, my husband's my provider, my husband's the one I have to run to, my husband's this, and this. But then when he would fall short of that, an argument would come up, because I'm like, you didn't meet my expectation. But the problem was, I was putting godly expectations on a human, on a man. And when I stopped running to him for that and started running to the Lord for that, I'm like, oh, like, yes, I need help in the house, but yeah, that's my son. Maybe it's not my husband right now. Maybe it's my dad. Maybe it's my neighbor that can help. Hold on.
Yeah.
What's the matter?
It's totally fine. Don't worry about it. Wow. I mean, there's so much wisdom in that on marriage. I know parents that have special needs, marriage is definitely a big struggle. Divorce rates are much higher. But I think you hit the nail on the head. It's about staying close to God, and then not focusing so much on the problems in marriage, but rather just look to God and let him solve it.
Yeah, and I think like too, I noticed the more we focus, even just on the marriage, like just hyper focus almost on it. Like it's good to come back and check in with each other, but if that's the only thing we're thinking about, you can nitpick something so much. So like I started a mom group called like Midnight Mamas or something, because we all had kids and we were breastfeeding midnight, 3:30, 4:30, and so we'd shoot a message, as opposed to me trying to reach out to my husband and tell him all my feelings. I'd reach out to this group of moms and be like, "Oh yeah, I totally understand." And so it's important to branch out and find that community, and not put so much weight on my husband to fill all of these emotional needs. I have lots of emotional needs, and to have him be the one to fill them. So then, yeah, because I think he's still he's doing much better, but he's still trying to figure out, I guess nobody does, figure out women and how to best support them. And so, but he grew up around guys. Like he never grew up around someone so emotionally all over the place. And so it doesn't make sense to him, most of the things I do or say. Bless his heart. He's yeah. But that's when I need mom, my church family. I go to church to like worship the Lord, but to fellowship with people in the same boat, to build relationship with families, with moms, and then my kids build relationships with other kids, and yeah, just somewhere to connect.
Yeah. I mean, you hit it too. I was going to ask about your community, but you've definitely shared the importance of it, and not just going to your husband for that kind of stuff, but also to your friend groups and church. And a community is so huge, and that's our goal, is like you've already doing, is just to get parents in community, because I know how powerful it is.
Hmm.
And just hearing all stories through my years teaching. Couple more questions. During the hard times where the mindset and perspective just isn't there, and just it's just hard. What do you do to take care of yourself? Like, you don't have much time.
That's what I think. I'm like, what do I do? No, I used to go out for walks a lot, but then I'd bring my kids. I'm rarely, rarely, rarely alone. So if I can get 1 hour a week to myself, praise God. So it's like, but I think a lot of it too is getting beyond mom guilt of taking that hour. Like I said, I'm a big crier. So if something hard has happened and I haven't given myself to cry about it, I know I'm still holding it in. And having a little bit of a background of yoga before, now I just call it stretching because I don't believe what anything that they do, but I'll just turn on worship music, and that would be the perfect choice that I don't always make. I used to smoke, but I don't anymore, praise God. But that was one thing. Or I used to drink, and that was one thing. But the problem with those was it would make me more exhausted. It would draw energy out of me when the lie is that it's going to help, but it actually just masked what was actually going on because it didn't allow me to move through the emotions, as we all yeah. I also I recognize postpartum, like, hormones can make you way more sensitive, and like being pregnant can make you way more sensitive, and so dealing with everything, either pregnant, I've been pregnant, I feel like, for the last 4 years, and dealing with everything, and learning my husband, and moving 3 times, and my husband getting, I think, 4 different jobs, and getting in a motorcycle accident where he was in a wheelchair for a couple of months and wasn't working for a year. It's like I feel like I've been through a lot.
I'd say.
So it's I know anger, I know rage, I know grief, I know depression. That one I know really well. Like I even sought going to therapy. I even tried to take mood stabilizers, and it just almost felt like that caused more of a problem for me. Like that's part of my what I learned about myself. And back in middle school, I realized the importance of be still and know that I am God. So when I get going all over the place, doing more is the problem. Doing less is the solution, in the sense of just sit, be still, know that He's God. I don't have to turn on music. I don't have to, like, journal. I'm a big journaler. I love writing. I don't have time for any of that right now. But sleep, that's a big thing. How do I take care of myself? I need to sleep. But I also don't. I love sleep when it happens, but it's almost like I have too much going on that I want to do, that it feels like a waste of time sometimes, which at that point, then I know I need it even more. My mom has this really cool little plaque magnet, and it says you should spend 10 minutes a day in a hammock, and if you don't have time, then spend 2 hours. So it's like, it's really, in this busy world, it's really hard to slow down when we have everything immediately. It's almost a complete mind shift to force yourself to just sit and pray. Like, I'm a huge prayer. My mom's a prayer warrior. I mean, that's something I didn't back in. I went to Calvary Chapel Bible College. Was
Okay.
one of my endeavors. I also went to I wanted to be a helicopter pilot.
Why not?
Right? And so that was my first college focus, but it's just like I don't know where I was going with that. I think just like being still is like I try to feel my life, but I just gotta just chill sometimes and not do anything is the best thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, you have such an amazing perspective, and I know so many parents are going to get so much value out of your journey and your story, and just the fact that to be still in such a chaotic life and world and journey is amazing. That was such a quick hour. But before you go, what is something you want other parents to know that are in the same journey as you? Because I know at Unspecial, like you've mentioned, we fully believe that God doesn't call the equipped, he equips the called. Or did I get it backwards again? No, yeah.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, this, because I know there are a ton of parents out there that don't think they can handle it. They can't do this, but you're a testament to it is possible. I mean, you're essentially doing it alone. You're not alone, but the day to day, you're alone a lot of the time. So, what would you say?
I think first my heart continually goes out to you and your family with your daughter and just the journey that you're going on there. I think sometimes we can get caught up in comparing who has the harder story, but I don't that's not how the Lord looks at it. He doesn't look at it as in a bunch of levels and buildings. He has like an eagle eye view of we're all down here, right? We're all at the same level, and like his grace is sufficient. And I think when we tell ourselves, no, I can't do this, I think we're absolutely right. We can't do it. We can't do it by ourselves. But the Lord didn't create us to do it by ourselves. He created us with this hole that only he can fill, this void that only he can fill. I think just draw closer to him, ultimately listen to his it's not advice. It's not like a speed warning sign. It's a speed limit. It's the Lord's law. It's just his commandments. But his commandments build relationship, build love, like true love, like not this some hoity-toity feeling that just comes and goes, but genuine relationship with him. And that's ultimately what he desires, and putting stuff in and out of our life to help us recognize that. I mean, I think it's a matter of opening up our eyes and our ears to him and praying for that. Like, Lord, like, open my ears to see you. Like, you don't see with your ears.
Yeah.
Open up my eyes to see you, and like ears to hear you. And then mouth just to speak of your name and your glory and to glorify you, which is not what I always do, because I'm human too. I think we all are, and not think, it is true, we all are. But I think to the parents is don't give up. Don't listen to those lies saying that you're worthless. Like, don't listen to the lies saying that you're alone. I know there's times that you can really feel like you're the only one going through it, or feel like nobody really understands. But there is always someone that is with you. There's always someone that understands. And ultimately, that's the Lord. So, and he's given us talents, he's given us desires, and he's given us passion. When it falls to taking care of your child with special needs, I think he's gifted us with those intuitions and those gifts to and my son's playing with a bike pump. So it's, I mean, again and again you hear it, just run to the Lord. He's always right next to us. We're the ones that are moving away. We're the ones that are turning our back on him. He's not turning his back on us. He's always there. I mean, that takes a long time for me to realize, and it still is. Just listen to him. Like, his burden is light, you know? His yoke is, I don't remember that verse, but like, his yoke is easy, his burden is light, right? And I mean, if the biggest thing he tells us to do is to be still and know that he's God, how simple, you know? How simple is that? Like, he doesn't tell us to go out and do one more thing, go out and find more thing. No, he says to be still. And he, I hope I have time to mention this, but I was just thinking of this pattern of faith in the Bible. When he tells someone to go out and do something, he doesn't clear the way before they get there. He clears the way once they're there and need to take a step. So if you think about Moses going through the ocean, like, he clears the ocean when he gets there and sees it happening, unfolding before his eyes. He makes it work, and then and David and Goliath, like, even in the story he's talking about how when he was about to go fight Goliath, he was given all of this equipment to wear, and he was like, no, I want to take it off, I can't fight with it. So it's this idea of sometimes what we see, what we think we need to equip ourselves with, isn't actually what we need. And so that's when we have to be still and for the Lord. Well, my house is getting busy now.
I mean, that reminds me of a verse that I've been kind of sitting on a lot lately. In First Peter, the God of all grace, who called you to his eternal glory in Christ, after you have suffered a little while, will himself restore you and make you strong, firm, and steadfast.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's just crazy. It's just like the mindset you have is God's still in control. He's got it all going, and we will be restored. That's awesome. That was great.
I love how we're saying some of the strongest points. My son's trying to shovel the garage now.
I mean, you got a worker.
Oh, he's a good kid. All right.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being on. There is so much in there, and I know it's going to inspire and bless a lot of parents. I'm sure we'll be in touch. I want to hear more about your journey as it unfolds. I'm sure I'll hear some from your brother as well.
Yeah.
Drew, your brother, is one of my good friends. Guy, he pretty much runs the construction business.
So cool.
So thankful for him. Yeah. And it's just a great family. I think I'm going to have your parents on here maybe in a couple weeks. So got the whole crew. I got to have some of your friends on. It's great.
Yeah. Cool.
So we're thankful for you. And just stay strong in your mindset. That's crazy. I'm going to listen to this a bunch of times and learn from your journey. So thank you.
Yeah, we'll just start in Matthew. No, it's good. It's good. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm excited about just the heart you have and bringing us together and kind of building that community. So it's cool.
Yeah, we've got some awesome guests lined up, so stay tuned for those. There's one gonna hit probably tomorrow with an old colleague of mine that just dropped a lot of knowledge on services and the whole process for parents navigating school systems and resources and all that. So yeah, stoked to have you. We'll be in touch.
Sweet. All right. Well, have a good day.
All right, you too. Thanks, Maddie.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for watching another episode of the Unspecial podcast. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share. You can find us at Unspecial LLC on Instagram, unspecialllc.com, and we would love to hear your feedback and have you on the show. Thanks again.